Visiting Wilkes County on business or pleasure? Stay in Wilkesboro at the Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, or Red Roof Inn and Suites. Enjoy Southern hospitality, cozy rooms, and a complimentary breakfast. Explore the mountains and then relax with us. You've earned it. Closed captions for this episode of Life in Wilkes is brought to you by Deal Insurance Agency in Wilkesboro, an award-winning, experienced, family-owned and operated agency with service and coverage that goes above and beyond expectations. Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating. Join us now and experience the unique essence of Life in Wilkes.
All right. Good morning, Dustin. Good morning, Nicole. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
It's certainly good to see you. It's fall time in the Carolinas now. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little change of the season. Yeah,
it's coming. It's coming.
Hope. Besides the rain, it's all good.
Well, the cool weather will be here eventually, but it won't last long.
No.
So that's a good thing. So, Dustin, why don't you share with everybody who you and your sister are and what you do?
Yeah, so Nicole and I, it's my sister, we own a second-generation insurance agency here in town, Deal Insurance. It was started by my dad and stepmom, Sherry, 23 years ago. And we're now second-generation owners. Have a rich history of service here locally, and just had a great foundation that Dad and Sherry set for us, and we're happy to carry on that legacy of service to yet another generation of consumers here in Wilkes County.
Oh, that's great. And both of you have children, right?
Oh,
yeah. So are you kind of sprinkling the insurance influence on their lives for future generational transference?
Like we did. I don't think it was forced on us, but it certainly happens by osmosis in our household. They hear a lot about insurance. Nicole was a claims adjuster for 18 years before moving home to join me in the family agency. So we are inherently insurance people.
It's in your blood.
Yeah.
Definitely in the family. So what did you do in the beginning? So Mom and Dad are in the business. So obviously we know what they were doing. How did the two of you get into that world? What prepared you?
Sure. My wife and I were just transitioning from other careers, living other places in our 20s. We lived in New York City when my wife was finishing up graduate school there. And we thought we'll just stop back in Wilkes, continue to work, we had our own business at the time, and thought we would just continue to do that from Wilkes County. And then life happened, an opportunity, presented itself for me to join the family business, and that's been about 12 years ago. And I've been an owner of the business since 2017, fortunately. And then I convinced my sister to move her family down here and join me.
So my path was a little different. So after college, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Dad said, why don't you just see if you can get a job in insurance until you figure that out. And apparently it sucked me in, and I found a lot of joy in that. But I worked on the claims side for a corporate claims office. Erie Insurance was actually the company I worked for, and I kind of just worked through various positions there for 18 years. It ended up taking me to Erie, Pennsylvania to work in their corporate claims office.
So you live there?
We moved to Erie, Pennsylvania. Yeah, so my husband's from High Point, North Carolina, so we had lived there for a while in my earlier career, and then we moved to Erie, Pennsylvania for about 5 years.
Erie's nice, though, isn't it?
It was a lovely place.
The frozen north.
Yeah. It was a fun adventure. I mean, it really was.
I've been there before, and I visited Erie before, and the insurance group, and just because it's so big, it takes up a big piece of town.
Yeah,
it is. It's the centerpiece of the city.
And I mean, it's one of the largest employers there in Erie, Pennsylvania, and really rooted in the community, so that kind of all just transferred on a smaller scale for me to come home.
Did you take an opportunity while you were there? Now you're working, you're busy, and doing family things, but did you take an opportunity to learn about some of our early American history? You were right there, right?
Maybe I did not.
You did not?
She was too busy working, raising kids.
I was really busy. Our kids were really little at that time. Moving into a different role, I stayed pretty busy. I went back and got my master's degree in risk management.
Okay.
And like I said, my kids were very young then, so we were doing lots of family stuff, learning how to ski. and doing all kinds of outdoors, ice fishing, anything that was kind of native to that region. We tried to take part in it and enjoy it.
You were enjoying the current activities there, not the past.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, in all honesty, it tends to come a little later in life when we start appreciating history even more.
Right.
For most people.
Yeah.
So that's fair. That's fair. And what activities were you and your family involved with prior to the insurance, or what was life like for you?
Yeah, I had a circuitous route back to insurance. So I studied public administration. I have a master's degree in public administration and had full intentions of being a city manager, town management. In fact, when I was an undergrad, I interned with one of your prior guests, Ken Nolan, at the town of Wilkesboro back in the early 2000s. So that was my career trajectory. And when I finished my master's degree, I actually ended up in Savannah, Georgia, another historical hub in the South, with my wife, and worked for an art museum down there as their grants manager, managing state and federal grants for arts funding and historic preservation. And then her education took us to New York City, where I continued to work for that art museum on a remote basis before it was a hip thing to do.
Right.
And we ended up managing a photo booth company for corporate events and doing some things there because she was sort of in the art and design space, had a little photography business, and continued that when we moved back to North Carolina prior to joining the family business.
So how interesting. So a blend of academic discovery combined with the arts.
Yep. Yep.
Combined with how things work in communities from an educational standpoint. So that's why you're the way you are. I know all those pieces about you. That explains when I'm asking you about my insurance liability or whatever.
I speak camera and photography and things like that. And production.
Right, and you're very analytical in your thinking. You're just kind of think things.
Yeah, Nicole and I are not salespeople. We are in a sales business, but we are educator, mentality for sure.
Isn't that a valuable asset for an insurance person? I mean, just as I think about, my history in that world and just understanding the sales mentality compared to the service mentality.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little lap, but I mean, it's really small. So when yours leans toward the service, and I would imagine that your loyalty base with your customers is extreme.
It's
higher than industry average for sure, and that's sort of been that's something we inherited from Dad and Sherry. This mentality that when the phone rings, you pick up and you're a human and you help the other human on the line.
Right.
And they don't go into a call loop and a recording. And we want to meet our customer where they are, whether that's in person or whether it's on the phone, or certainly a fair share of that is over the web these days as well. But this is Wilkes County. We're a small business in a smaller community, and there's an accountability that goes with seeing people at the grocery store or at church, and we have to do right by people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And from your side, on the claim side, that would make some people cringe. She's the one that said yes or no. It's her fault. But, I mean, it's bigger than that, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, so that's the claim side was really where the rubber met the road. The agent sold the product, but claims delivered on that.
Right.
So it was very fulfilling and satisfying, but you still had that opportunity to educate because you have this policy that you get in the mail and it's 65 pages long. I would say most people probably don't read it, and if they do, they don't understand it. So, the agent side was doing the best they could to educate people on the front end, but then when they had the claim, that's when you had to really dig in and explain the coverages. And when I was a large loss adjuster, so that would be somebody that has a really big house fire or a significant water loss, that's where I really feel like you could shine. That's where you're really showing them what that policy meant to them, that they had coverage for their home, they had coverage for their belongings, they had coverage to go stay in a hotel or long-term housing while their repairs were being made, so it was really just that culmination of this product that they've been paying for all of these years, and then seeing how it really benefited them. So I get great pleasure out of helping people and educating people, and so that translated to the agency side, you just kind of flip it,
Right.
so.
Yeah, and we're only as good as the company we keep. So the carriers that we partner with, and Nicole's mentioned Erie, she was a claims adjuster for Erie. I mean, that's our core partner, and we don't lose any sleep at night because we know where our customers are and how they're going to be taken care of when the time comes that they actually need that coverage that we've sold them.
Yeah.
And that's when the value is truly presented to people. Yeah. So there are moments when we're making those monthly payments that we're like,
is this going to work when I need it?
Well, no,
this is painful.
Well, maybe I don't even think it's that. I say, this is a waste.
Yeah.
But we think that until we need it, right? Yeah. So it's a big difference. So let's talk about that a moment. You gave a great example. So it sounds like you were giving an example of somebody that had checked all the right boxes for their homeowner's insurance. So I want to make sure that I've got these various different coverages and pay for the hotel, pay for all these things. So the idea when that does happen, we hope it never does, but it does, right?
It does.
That those moments are made better because the loss had been mitigated. Had it not been, the policy is still going to take care of whatever is supposed to be covered, but it can be better. So I guess my thoughts on that, and I would imagine from a customer standpoint, when we're seeing all these things we can add on, and we're wondering, is that really worth it? And it's a different thing when we're buying it and thinking about, do I really need that? And then when you actually do need that. So in your experiences now from the claim standpoint, but when you've seen people that have chosen wisely on their products, does it really make a big difference?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's sometimes it's difficult for folks to make that decision to purchase a particular coverage because they think I'm not going to need that or that's not going to happen to me. But there's always a possibility for anything, and that's the difficult part about insurance. I mean, people talk about being insurance poor because they have so much insurance and they may or may not have a claim. But it's so that is sometimes difficult for people to see that they, adding more coverages that they may never use. But when they have it, they're like, oh, wow, that was only $40 a year and it sure has paid off, But trying to pick what is important to them or just what their risk appetite is. And that's unique for each person and each family, each financial situation. There are a lot of things to consider when deciding what they want to purchase.
Right. I think it's really important we talk about this. When I was sitting at your office, we were talking about this visit. I feel that talking about everything is important. Things that are part of our regular lives, understanding how things work and the reasons for things. I think that's crucial to us being able to sleep a little bit better at night.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of complications, and I understand that, but at least knowing. So is insurance, let me ask you this, is insurance something that you feel like the more we know, the better we are, and what's that journey like?
Yeah. What's that thing that you usually say, analysis paralysis?
Well, there can be a little analysis paralysis when it comes to insurance, but I've got this little quote on my desk that I've had there for probably 10 years, and it says the best way to sell something is to not sell anything, but to gain the awareness, trust, and respect of those that might buy. And that takes time, and that takes setting down and not just spitting out the same policy for every person, but sitting down, talking to the customer about their family, their work, their interests, their hobbies, things that are important to them, making sure we understand the customer and know them, what their risks are that are unique to each individual person and family, and really navigating, okay, well, you mentioned this, so let's talk about this extra coverage or this life insurance. You have 3 kids that are dependent on your income right now. Everything is unique to the individual, and it takes time. And we live in this world where it's an Amazon mentality where I want it yesterday. But that's not always the best. The fastest, the cheapest is not always, it's a race to the bottom sometimes. Right. And to have the kind of peace that we can have at night to go to sleep knowing our customers are cared for, it takes knowing your customer and having a conversation and understanding who they are and what their needs are.
It seems to me like this perfectly fits in the category of financial literacy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. This should be a high school course.
It's part of that process. So I think knowing that and understanding that, and many of us aren't there, but there is a pathway to get there. But then once you're there, you've got the knowledge, and then I get the analysis paralysis. We're just trying to figure out every angle. I just think it's understanding the basics.
Yeah.
How many of us simply are not informed of the basics of how things work?
Yeah.
Just doing that would probably make us all sleep better at night, right?
I've talked to people on a regular basis that don't understand, just on a basic auto policy, that probably the simplest coverage to understand. You've got liability coverage and physical damage coverage. Then you may have some extras like a rental car when your vehicle's damaged or towing reimbursement. But I would say I'm regularly having a conversation about, okay, this is comprehensive. These are the types of losses that fall under that. This is collision coverage. And you're right, a lot of folks don't understand just those basic coverages, and I think we spend a lot of time trying to educate our folks. Like Dustin said, it's not just about the bottom line. I mean, I can have somebody else's and compare it to mine, but I want it to be accurate. I want them to know what their risks are, where they may have a gap in coverage. You don't see too often someone over-insured, but, those are things that we like to call out. And Dustin does a really nice job when he's not able to meet somebody in person. And I've just started doing this, but he does some video presentations and walks them through the quote and what the various coverages are in a video presentation that they can log into and access at their convenience. So, it's really kind of starting to change the way we can do business. It doesn't have to be face-to-face if the customer doesn't want that, but he can still get that information across.
Or if it is face-to-face, you can still go home and you can get some tutorials on certain aspects of things, so that information is always there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You take care of a lot of individuals, but you also do the same for businesses, right?
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. Businesses are even more unique in nature. I mean, a homeowner's policy, in a lot of ways, is a homeowner's policy. There are certain things that change person to person, but every business is very, very unique. You think about a restaurant versus a video production studio versus, an attorney's office. Everybody has a very unique exposure, a retail shop. And that takes a lot of time and effort to get it right because, this is people's livelihoods.
Right.
And their livelihoods really are at stake in the event of a claim in certain circumstances, a fire loss or a workers' comp claim, an injured employee. All those things could really put them on their heels as a business owner. So, we have a full suite of coverage offerings from a variety of carriers that we can help navigate for anybody from a contractor to a small business, retail, Main Street type operation.
We have a lot of entrepreneurs in Wilkes County, in this region, right? So let's just give us a quick, I'm not asking for everything, but give us a quick rundown, Dustin, of what those fundamental things as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's maybe they've got a small shop or they're working from home. I mean, what do we need to be mindful of and why?
Yeah, it depends on the business, but the primary pieces of a commercial package policy or a suite of coverages for a business would include your property coverages. So if you own a building, the structure itself, the contents coverage, so all of the things that you use and need in the course of your business to continue operating. Your general liability limits, so if you're on location somewhere, especially if you're a contractor or something along the lines of what you do, camera falls over or a piece of drywall falls over, injures a third party or someone's property, you want to make sure you're covered there and not out of pocket personally for that kind of thing. But then you can get into other coverages. Depending on the line of work, you may need something like a professional liability for the advice that you give to people. If you're an attorney or an insurance agent, a doctor. And then certainly, the biggest exposure a lot of us have is what we do when we drive on the roads, and that's operating a vehicle.
Sure.
That's probably the biggest exposure any business has. So just making sure you have adequate commercial auto limits to cover your operations while you're on the road.
So that's different than the personal.
That's different than a personal auto policy. Yeah. Same types of coverages, but unique to the business. Workers' compensation coverages. If you have employees, you get an employee that's injured, you don't want to be responsible for that personally. You want to make sure that you have the coverage, and a lot of that's statutory requirements that are required by law in North Carolina too. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right, so there is a bit of difference.
Yeah.
But all of these things are tools and assets to make our life better.
Yeah, and to keep us safe.
Right.
Yeah. It's really just to protect yourself financially. It's
and to be fair, we owe it to our neighbors. It's this being financially responsible and having the coverage you need to make sure that if you injure somebody, that you've got adequate coverage to not only protect yourself, but to take care of them. Mm-hmm. That's what we owe to each other.
All right. Yeah. So that's just some good wisdom and logic that we can all latch on to and think about, right? And help us move forward. When we look at the community as it stands now, occasionally driving down the road, I'll look up and I see the two of you smiling on a billboard.
Had someone call me about that the other day.
Right?
Sorry.
No. I think it's great because it shows you're in the community. You're part of it.
Sure.
And a lot of people have billboards, but not everyone's consistent.
Yeah.
And you guys are there. And what does that mean? I've just asked that question because I know the objective is marketing, but when you put the billboards up or you put your marketing campaigns to work and you're involved with the community, how does that affect your staff, your people? Because you got several people that work for the agency, and they're in. Is it important to them as it is to you that you're seen in the public?
So one of my friends called, she's like, I just saw you on a billboard. And she said, she said, the phrase caught me first before I realized it was you, locally owned and homegrown.
Yeah.
Right. And I just think that's really important for folks to know, hey, we're here and we're local.
We're in it.
And we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah. Right.
Not only just for our business itself, but for our community. Yeah. I mean, we are here for Wilkes. Yeah. And it's important for, we're supporting a lot of families and our employees, and they want people to know that we're here. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Right. We're stable. We're here to support them and certainly take care of our customers. Yeah.
Well, I think the idea of being homegrown, that idea that's not clear to everybody, because everybody doesn't have that background. Even some people that may live here may not have that. Homegrown means family, doesn't it? It means community, connection. Mm-hmm. So if you're coming from another area, maybe you don't have that. But the unique aspect of Wilkes, I think, is that it's so inviting. So it's easier to if you're from somewhere else, it's easier to kind of mesh into that feeling of caring. Do you hear that a lot from people?
I do.
Yeah, I think it's a strength of ours. In some ways, the way that we do business here, I think would be hard for us to replicate if we jumped ship and moved to Charlotte. We just thrive in this environment of knowing people, and the byproduct of that is we get referred a lot of people out of town from people that know us locally. Right. So we ride all over the state of North Carolina, but our anchor is right here in the northwest corner. But Nicole and I are byproducts of Wilkes County schools. We grew up here. Our kids are in the school system here. It's our parents live here. Our grandparents lived here. This is home, and it is easy for us to be here. I realize that not everybody has the same opportunity that we have, and we're grateful and humbled by that to know that there was a family business that could anchor us and bring us back here, and we don't take that for granted. We feel heavily invested here.
The idea, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I lived away, it was a wonderful community, but I just never felt like I was able to put my roots down or that I found my people. And it took, living there, being away from Wilkes to realize, Wilkes is home. Right. And it's home for us because we grew up here, but it's become a home for a lot of people that didn't grow up here, that are just drawn to this area. The people here, just the community, everything that's available. But I think it comes back to the people.
Yeah,
Did you discover in your return? So we all go places, and we want to make the best of wherever we are.
Absolutely.
But the idea of coming back home, because I've talked with a lot of people who have done this, and they said coming back from being gone for years, they realized that what they yearned for was here, but even more than that, that the community had so much more to offer, and it was so much more diverse and experiences. And people in Wilkes do travel around the world. They do have, international business interests. And that only happened when they returned home.
Yeah, I don't know if it was here before and we just didn't appreciate it.
There were some guys who grew up here that I sort of was in musical circles with, Skip and Logan Matheny. They were in a band called Roman Candle. Their dad, Mike Matheny, and I are good friends. And they wrote a song that said, "You walk the world and most of what you're looking for is right under your nose." I think there's a Smokey Robinson lyric to that effect as well. But that's true. I think sometimes, for us, I'm sure that when we finished high school and college, we couldn't wait to get out of here and go see the world. And I think that's important if you have that opportunity. But it certainly helps color life and to see home in a different light. And there's a deeper appreciation, I think, for us for not having been here for a while and to now be back here raising our kids on the same grass that we grew up on. Yeah.
There's a spot on 421 when you're heading back from another county.
At
and
that
you
Cleveland
crest,
exit there.
Sure.
And you can see the mountains in the background, and you just take a deep breath, and it's fun to get away and go shopping and see other spots. But I will tell you, there's nothing like cresting that hill and seeing those mountains and the beautiful sky in the background. It just brings a peace, and I'm amazed, really, since I've been back, and I was not the catalyst for this, but it just seems like there is a large number of folks that
more
are returning
home.
And it's really exciting to see, and they all have something different to bring back to the community and different experiences, and there's really so much to offer here, and some of it's new. I mean, my son is doing a mountain biking team called the Wilkes Wolves. I didn't know that existed until a few years ago, but it's a fabulous community, and the trail system for the mountain bikes in Wilkes County is huge.
It's internationally
brings in, and so there's a lot of exciting things going on. You do have to take some time to just seek it out and participate in it, but it's all there for you. So
Nicole's husband and I are both musicians too, and so it's just very much in our nature to feel at home here. Yeah. For all those reasons.
Yeah. Oh, what a wonderful thing. Yeah. So both of you have had a brother and sister, but you went off and had your own experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
And now you've brought them back home.
Yep.
So you've got these different cultural experiences, which I'm imagining those experiences in other places and the types of things that we were doing helped open your senses up a bit to the way we look at people.
Yeah.
I know for me, as you travel around the country, around the world, it's hard to hate people.
Yeah, who is your neighbor, right?
That's right. It's a really big neighborhood.
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers wasn't singing to one person.
Yeah, that's right.
He had a big audience.
Yeah.
And I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that's true.
Absolutely.
Wow. All right. Well, look, we've had a nice visit.
Yeah.
I'd like for both of you to think about some other things we can talk about down the road that will, once again, anytime we say literacy, anytime we talk about learning, there's always that, what are they going to do? What are they trying to sell me? It's more than that, though.
It is.
Right?
Absolutely.
And just helping everyone understand a little bit more about how things work is good, including me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I always, when I first said that, I was helping people understand, because sometimes people don't want to feel like you're trying to make them learn something.
Yeah.
But that's not our objective. It's just who's doing things, who are the doers, what are they doing, and how does it play a part in our lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. We've got a little tagline we use that says security from our family to yours. And that's our goal, is to protect people.
Yeah. All right. I feel protected. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carl.
Say hi to all the good people over at Dill Agency.
We sure will.
I think they're all good folks.
Yeah, they are.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.